Hey to everyone. Welcome to our webinar for today, Electronics Manufacturing Services Made Smart and Industry 4.0 Technology, Ionics Smart Manufacturing and Digital Twin. This event was organized in partnership by the various Philippine trade and investment centers here in the United States and with the Philippine Board of Investment. My name is Bernard Chan, your moderator for today. As your moderator, I hope to provide additional perspectives on the current manufacturing landscape in the Philippines. I have been in the consumer electronic industry for more than 15 years, and I'm currently the Senior Project Manager at Everin International Corp. As a member of our company, Everin International, I have worked with the Philippines private and government sectors in establishing our very first factory in Laguna, Philippines in year 2019. Upcoming, we will have presentations from the following: from Undersecretary Rafaelita M. Aldaba, who heads the Department of Trade and Industries, Competitiveness and Innovation Group, and from Mr. Earl Kua of Ionics-EMS Incorporated, which is a total one-stop electronic manufacturing services, EMS, and solutions provider in the Philippines. We are also looking forward to a preview of Ionics Smart Factory and how the digital twin system works. Finally, we will have a Q&A after the presentations and a panel discussions to delve deeper into the Asia's supply chain, the cost advantages, and the Philippines' risk mitigation initiatives as the region continues to establish its resiliency amidst the ongoing pandemic. Now, some house rules before we start. I would like to inform everyone that this webinar will be recorded. There will be a question and answer section after the presentations. You can also use the Q&A features for the Zoom meeting for your questions or comments. And the presentation will be available after this session. So, okay, let's go ahead with our main presentations. Our first speaker will be Undersecretary Rafaelita Aldaba. A short introduction about Undersecretary Rafaelita. Dr. Rafaelita Fita Aldaba is the current Undersecretary for the Competitiveness and Innovation of the Philippines Department of Trade and Industry. She fulfills and holds a key role in the formulation and implementation of the Inclusive Innovation Industrial Strategy, or what we call I3S, which puts innovation at the heart of the country's new industrial policy. Apart from the manufacturing resurgence and industry roadmaps, she is also leading DTI's initiatives in establishing an inclusive innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in collaboration with other government agencies, industries, and the academe under the Inclusive Philippinnovation and Entrepreneurship Roadmap. She is also in charge of the competitiveness and research work of DTI, focusing on supply chain and logistics, e-commerce, accreditation of conformity assessment bodies, and the trade and industrial policies. Please let us welcome Undersecretary Fita Aldaba.
Thank you, Bernard. Good morning. Good morning to those here in Manila, and good afternoon and good evening to those in the US. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay. All right. I hope you are all staying safe and well in these trying times. And thank you to the Philippine Trade and Investment Center and Board of Investments for organizing today's webinar, which focuses on the electronics manufacturing services, which is one of the country's priority industries. Apart from attracting more investments in R&D, in integrated circuit design, we want more investments toward smart factories, smart products, consumer electronics, auto electronics, medical devices, and other health products. Okay, to start with, I'm showing to you this graph, which shows the economic performance of the country versus China. You can also see in there Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Singapore. And the Philippines is actually a story of a country that has been seen as an economic star with an average growth of 6.2% in the last 10 years. And just as we reached an inflection point, the pandemic hit us. And like most countries, our growth contracted in the first half of this year by minus 8.6%. This brought us in our first recession since 1998 during the Asian financial crisis. Manufacturing and services contributed largely to this strong growth during the period 2010 to 2019, with manufacturing growing at an average rate of 5.8%, while services posted 7.2%. Manufacturing was actually at the cusp of a resurgence. With the crisis, the industry contracted by 12.6%. The manufacturing sector has been showing signs of gradual recovery, as you can see on the slide. This gradual recovery has been taking place as more sectors of the economy reopen. And you can see in there as well the slower contraction in both output and employment during the third quarter. You can see the upward trend, although it's still negative, but relatively slower. The country's macro fundamentals remain solid and strong. Investment grade credit ratings have been affirmed by Fitch Ratings, by Moody's Investors Service, and Standard & Poor's, despite the economic headwinds. And more recently, I would also want to mention the Global Innovation Index 2020 ranks the Philippines 50th out of 131 countries, which is up from 54th last year. And this is the first time that the Philippines has breached the top 50 of the Global Innovation Index, which recognizes the country as an innovation achiever for the second year in a row. Okay. Amid the pandemic, we continue to implement our new industrial policy mentioned earlier by Bernard, which we call Inclusive Innovation Industrial Strategy. This new strategy focuses on innovation and aims to grow globally competitive and innovative industries by embracing Industry 4.0 technologies to create new products, new services, and new business models, closing the gaps in our domestic supply chain and deepening our participation in global value chains. We are adopting Industry 4.0 technologies to help us create new industries and upgrade our existing economic activities. The strategy also focuses on linking together our innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem through strong collaboration between and among government, academe, and industry. This is crucial as we accelerate the commercialization of R&D investments. We are reskilling and upskilling our workforce, equipping them with new digital skills and making them Industry 4.0 ready. Another vital pillar is the development of innovative micro, small, and medium enterprises and startups, as well as improving ease of doing business, which is a necessary element to create the enabling environment that is conducive to the growth and development of firms and industries. We are prioritizing the following industries and economic activities: electronics and electrical, automotive, aerospace, chemicals, furniture, garments and textile, climate change products, shipbuilding, IT services, creative industry, agriculture and agribusiness, and transport and logistics. Our vision for the future, well, using these new technologies like voice recognition, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, mixed reality, robotics, 5G connectivity, and industrial Internet of Things, we want to create new products or solutions in the following areas: smart buildings and smart home technology, digital health, e-gaming, smart assistants, vehicle technology, resilient technology, along with audio, video, and edtech or online education. We have lined up the following Industry 4.0 readiness initiatives. We are working with the UNIDO in crafting our Industry 4.0 roadmaps for electronics, automotive, aerospace, and agribusiness. We are also conducting a feasibility study for the establishment of an Industry 4.0 pilot factory together with an Industry 4.0 SME Academy to provide Industry 4.0 trainings to our micro, small, and medium enterprises. We are working with the academe on the formulation of an artificial intelligence roadmap to make the Philippines an AI center of excellence. And together with other government agencies, we are formulating an Industry 4.0 human resource development roadmap. We are also currently formulating a program that aims to provide fiscal and non-fiscal assistance to companies that are shifting to Industry 4.0 technologies. And these initiatives complement the programs of another government agency, the Department of Science and Technology, which is also establishing an advanced manufacturing center and an advanced mechatronics, robotics, and industrial automation laboratory. The electronics industry is an important growth driver, with over 500 electronics and electrical firms in the country providing 3.2 million jobs. The industry is the third largest contributor to the manufacturing output. Sectors such as computer, electronic, and optical products, which you can see on the slide, grew by 14.4% in 2017, while electrical equipment posted a growth of 13.8% in 2019. But all this slowed down, as you can see on the chart. All this slowed down these activities due to the volatility arising from the US-China trade war, with COVID-19 exacerbating the situation. But electronics remains the major contributor to the country's total exports, with a share of 61%. Our major markets are Hong Kong, the US, Japan, China, and Singapore. The industry aspires to create the electronics manufacturing services ecosystem and upgrade our position in the electronics global value chain by focusing on manufacturing the following products in the country: drones, autonomous vehicles, smart home devices, virtual reality devices, digital health devices, microsatellite, wearable solar devices, 3D printers, and collaborative robots or cobots. According to the recent growth estimates of the Asian Development Bank, the Philippines is expected to grow by 6.5% in 2021. With government working together with industry, academe, and other stakeholders, and as the virus is contained, together with global recovery, the Philippines will be able to take advantage of the emerging opportunities and challenges from shifting trade and investment preferences and changing forms of international production in the wake of COVID-19. And to realize this, we are fast-tracking innovation and adapting new technologies with greater focus on strengthening our electronics manufacturing services. Trade and investment cooperation between countries would be a vital step as we face the post-crisis future. I'm hoping that we can all work together to deepen the connection between industries and build strong and resilient supply and value chains, especially in the EMS, where new opportunities for growth abound. Thank you very much and good morning. Back to you, Bernard.
Yes, thank you, Yusek Fita, for the presentation. I believe that we have received very, very interesting, noteworthy, and very, very exciting information about what government, especially yourself, doing in part of trying to alleviate the current pandemic situation and trying to improve the Philippines for the future. Now, let's go next to our next presenter. Our next speaker will be Mr. Earl Kua. Earl Kua is the Chief Executive Officer of Quantum Insights and Analytics Incorporated. He is the Vice President of the Business Development at Ionics-EMS. He also serves as the President of the Electronic Industry Association of the Philippines Incorporated, or what we call EIAPI. He was part of a group that led the establishments of the Electronics Products Development Center, EPDC of the Philippines, Government Department of Science and Technology, and he is currently serving as its project head. The EPDC is a state-of-art facility that designs, prototypes, and tests electronic products. Its services and resources are available to assist startups, SMEs, and universities in the Philippines. Now, I will give the opportunity for Earl to do his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. Hold on, let me share this. So thank you, Bernard. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry for organizing this event, particularly Ms. Celine Layug and their teams. Hope you are staying safe. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about the capabilities of Ionics, to share our story, and also to discuss what we can do to serve the technology industry in the Bay Area and the rest of the US. I'd also like to thank Undersecretary Aldaba of the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry for supporting and being part of this event. The Ionics Group is a publicly listed company that has been around for over 46 years. The Ionics Group includes our EMS manufacturing business, which offers electronic design, PCBA, and box build capabilities. IOMNI is our plastics injection company, which supplies plastics to both external customers and to our internal manufacturing business. Ionics Properties leases out factories to our internal manufacturing operations. Also, it leases facilities to other manufacturing companies as well. So if there's any interest in setting up your own factories in the Philippines, we can help with that too. Ionic Circuits is our VC group, which has invested in many Silicon Valley startups like Cirrus Logic, Marvell, TuneIn Radio, to name a few. This group has teams both in Manila and the Silicon Valley. And our system integration group is a value-added reseller of our customer solutions into the Philippine market. I will be focusing my discussion today on Ionics-EMS, our electronics manufacturing services company. Our factories are located in export processing zones in the Philippines, which allows tax-free importation of raw materials and has no export duties. The group is vertically integrated, having in-house design services capability and our own plastics injection fab. We have full turnkey capability with a supply chain team that has great relationships directly with component manufacturers, as well as with the largest component distributors. One of our key advantages of being in the Philippines is our advocacy for IP protection. Our aim is to allow our customers to sleep well at night. Our group started back in 1974 as a semiconductor packaging assembly house. We worked with Intel and TI back when they were setting up operations in the Philippines. In 1982, we got into PCB assembly via consignment, and in the 90s, added supply chain and turnkey capability. This is also when we went IPO. In the early 2000s, we began design services when we acquired the Philips Eindhoven Design Center. In the mid 2010 is when we started the Smart Factory initiative. Our service portfolio allows us to be a one-stop shop from concept to mass production. Anyone or company with a product concept can come to us and we can make it happen for them. From the design and conceptualization phase, which includes consultation for product conceptualization, schematics, PCB layout, mechanical design, firmware design, and design for manufacturing, to the mass production phase, which includes the latest machines for SMT, PTH, flip chip, raw die mounting, multi-chip module assembly, box build, and ATE testing. And finally, to kitting, logistics, and even reverse logistics, where we can ship directly to your customers or their logistics or retail hubs globally. So Ionics has extensive experience, not just in manufacturing IoT products, but also has embarked on many IoT projects from the concept stage all the way to mass production. One example is our IoT project with Echelon, which is one of the premier building management information solutions provider. Echelon came to us with a product concept for their building automation solution, where from there we took it from design all the way to mass production. We also worked with the Philippine government's Department of Science and Technology, where they designed and integrated a medical device that includes a blood pressure monitor, a pulse oximeter, ECG, a fetal monitor, a heart monitor, a tachometer for women in active labor, and temperature sensors. It was packaged in a portable device that can be deployed to remote locations for the use of the underserved as a portal for telehealth services to those remote locations. Another solution we worked on is with a German company called IXRG. Their product is called the Wee Butler, where we assisted them in incorporating up to 7 radios into a single box to form a ubiquitous IoT home automation hub that can communicate with almost all home automation protocols, allowing it to be one of the most versatile home automation hubs in the market today. We currently ship to them in Germany to serve the European home automation market. The Smart Cap is another IoT solution that we manufacture that allows medication monitoring for patients, particularly for elderly patients who need assistance in tracking their medicine intake. Which brings me to the Smart Factory, which was an initiative that started in Massachusetts when I was doing an executive program. From there, we reached out and had multiple collaborations and partnerships with world-class enterprises like IBM, Apple, Foxconn, and Panasonic. From there, the Smart Factory took a life of its own. We currently have multiple modules, which includes manufacturing operations module, a supply chain module, HR modules, to name a few. The basic tenet of the Smart Factory is what we call CORE. Capture data, optimize based on analytics and insight, revamp operation, enhance user experience, and then repeat. The foundation of the Smart Factory is very similar to our approach to our IoT customers, who create full stack solutions that go from the basic sensor layer to edge compute to communications all the way back to the MES system in the cloud. We also initially used many of our proprietary IoT hardware platforms, which was also used by countless ODM customers as a reference platform to build their own IoT solutions. We view the current iteration of the Ionics Smart Factory as the plumbing of our data that feeds information to our data lake, which is the digital twin of every aspect of operations in Ionics. For manufacturing operations, which include OEE monitoring, production planning, monitoring of product velocity, quality control, and machine maintenance, to supply chain operations, where we monitor component flow and product planning, which includes detailed monitoring of freight costs to analyze optimization of component sourcing. The solution allows us to have simultaneous macro and micro view of the enterprise overall operations to make quick and informed decisions, and it also lays down the groundwork for machine learning training and AI implementation. We've amassed quite a bit of data. We found it to be critical in the time of COVID because all information is available remotely. Status report could be generated and accessed by customers in real time in lieu of a physical audit. Information comes directly from the machines and is as transparent as we can get. Best part is no waiting for the other side of the world to wake up to get info. Here's a peek of the Ionics Smart Factory manufacturing module.
View of the operational side of the smart factory, where you can see multiple lines. And so here's another view of it. Um, on the floor, so you can see all of the different lines, the status, whether it's downtime or if they're running with errors. Even on the machine level, on per line, you can see whether they're running with errors and get a general idea of what's going on in the facility. And you can go inside, dig deeper onto the actual lines. And so this is the first factory. You see the customer, you see the efficiency, the output, the quality rate, and other information. So, for example, in factory number 2, the Toshiba line, you can see the different configurations of the line. Again, you can see whether it's running or not, what the efficiency rate is, what the actual output is, what the projected output should be, and the quality rate based on targets. And so here you could also see the different line configurations, the different machines. And so you could tell that we were able to incorporate some of our older machines into the Smart Factory program. Here you see the actual output in a graph scale. This is updated on an an hourly basis, and so the blue line represents the target, and the orange actually represents the actual output. And so here you have information on errors. You can see that hit the break time here. That's why the volume went down at this point. And so there's a lot of detailed information that you can find. Likewise, if you click on the machines, you could also see the machine level details. So the history of this machine, the different errors, what was done in the past, the capacity matrix, how many units per hours, the models that it run, and other things. So these are all kept and stored and analyzed for the future. You can see the manual and the schedule of the machine. Below, you can see the different products that it has run, and here you can see in a retrospective way on which day it run a particular model and how much of it. And here we also figure out what issues there are that we came across while running the machine. Here is another way of looking at a more detailed view of the historical run of the machine. So you have the date, the product that it produced, its output, the efficiency, the quality, availability, and the OEE, and also the downtime history on why the line went down. And so we could see the detail, what has happened with the machine.
So in the 3 years since the Smart Factory went live, where we incorporate IoT with the machine automation and business intelligence, we were able to reduce the direct labor force of SMT production line by 90%. That's a lot of cost improvements, making us more engineering centric. We also improved our quality and yield by 5% and reduced machine downtime from a whopping 22% average to 2%. Apart from that, management and customers can now benefit from real-time access to information from anywhere. So the Smart Factory enabled us to significantly improve cost, quality, and customer experience simultaneously, while enabling a technology roadmap to AI implementation. It was a great investment for us. So here's a quick recap of our company.
The Ionics Group started in 1974 as a semiconductor packaging house and later expanded to the EMS business. In the 80s, we sold our IC packaging house and instead focused on the EMS business. Today, Ionics is an end-to-end electronics manufacturing services company that offers world-class quality manufacturing to clients all over the world. We further have a full line of connectivity module and software offering. Our factory is recognized to be advanced and leading in the area of smart manufacturing and is admired by our big multinational clients. Our machines communicate with each other without human intervention. Our enterprise room houses the factory's digital twin, and it is where we monitor every goings on the factory floor and the supply chain hub.
The Ionics Design and Development Group, or DDG, is a world-class electronics design team. The Ionics DDG Group have created cutting-edge products for many of the world's largest electronic brands, as well as the cutting-edge startups at the Silicon Valley. Over the last decade, DDG Group has focused on IoT solutions, which serve as reference platforms for many different companies. Having design experience and working closely with leading semiconductor companies, our team can work from product concepts and take it to mass production. From the initial concept, we can design, prototype, test, certify, and mass produce any electronic-based product. Having over 4 decades of manufacturing experience and almost 2 decades of design experience, we have the track record to execute on your design with absolute confidence, and rest assured, your IP is secured with us.
In more than 4 decades, Ionics have collaborated with different machine companies to always make sure that our manufacturing lines use state-of-the-art SMT and final assembly machines. The experience and learning that we got working with big multinational companies even enhanced these capabilities, because on top of advanced technology machines, strict controls have also been implemented. The use of advanced technology equipment combined with the set of strict controls have helped Ionics to ensure that our production lines run at high efficiency, producing good quality products at a reasonable cost. The passion to continuously improve our capabilities brought us to where we are right now. Our SMT machines are provided with software capabilities for smart factory requirements. These equipments are maintained and supported by highly skilled engineers trained here and abroad. Our aim is to make sure that our machines can support future technologies. Our current production runs product with 0105 size chip, POP or package on package, and CSP up to 60 micron pitch. This, coupled with the necessary controls and smart factory, makes Ionics manufacturing a good choice to work with.
Ionics Supply Chain Management is composed of supply chain specialists and headed by experienced international purchasing and supply chain professionals certified by the UN International Trade Center. We have established the Supply Chain Management Center, which houses all our supply chain operations, including planning, logistics, procurement, purchasing, warehouse, kitting, and finished goods. A sound supply chain management strategy and a no ifs and no buts execution is our edge. Implementation is everything. Our 5-year strategy is to establish supply chain centers in key countries in order to be closer to our customers across the globe. Successful implementation of supply chain strategy boils down to 3 key points: people, technology, and leadership. We have the right people with the right skills and attitude. We employ the latest technology not just in manufacturing but also in supply chain management. And we believe that strong leadership is the glue that binds it all together.
I am Lido Campinis and I have represented Ionics in Europe for over a decade. I affirm that Ionics is your total one-stop shop electronics manufacturing service provider. We have provided excellent quality, fast and flexible delivery and competitive cost. We take care of our customers and we offer first-rate after-sales services. Your business is our business.
The Ionics core values of passion, respect, integrity, empathy, and excellence drive each and every employee. Our employees, motivated by our core values and enhanced by evolving cutting-edge technology, are the secret to our success.
So trust us by the customers we keep. Thank you very much. Handing back to you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you, Earl, for sharing us the insights and how Ionics has successfully coped with the challenges and demands brought about by this pandemic and with the early adoption of the Industry 4.0 technology. I'm sure that our participants and attendees will have more questions now following the virtual tour. So let us now proceed to our panel discussion and Q&A portion. Joining us in our panel are our speakers, Undersecretary Fita and Earl Kua, Mr. Jay Chavez, who is the Chief Operations Officer at Ionics, Georgie Belvis, the Ionics representative in Silicon Valley, Ms. Lani Dormiendo from the Philippines Board of Investment, and representatives from the different Philippine trade and industry centers in the industry, Senior Trade Representative Nick Bautista from New York, Senior Trade Representative Raymond Batak from Washington, D.C., and our Trade Commissioners, Ms. Celine Layug from the Silicon Valley and Trade Commissioner Eric Elnar from LA. Now, okay, so let's move on to the Q&A portion. The Philippines is strategically located in Southeast Asia, being a very critical entry point to the ASEAN nations, which represents one of the biggest markets in the world, with a market population of more than 649 million. It has a total aggregate GDP of almost $3.3 trillion and an average per capita of 4,600 for the year 2018. A question for Undersecretary Fita. How has the Philippines' domestic initiatives and bilateral economic relationships positioned the Philippines as a strategic manufacturing location, with emphasis on the GSP, RCEP, EFTA, GSP, and its continuation? What are the benefits of the recent signing of the RCEP as well?
Well, thank you, Bernard, for that very interesting question. Just to provide a little bit of context before I go directly to the benefits of the RCEP, As highlighted in my presentation, we are prioritizing industries like electronics, automotive, aerospace parts, IT business process management, and agribusiness. These are the major sources of exports of the country, particularly electronics, which comprise 61% of our total goods exports. And in the same way, IT services represent 63% of our total services exports. And we are strengthening and deepening our participation by upgrading our position in the global value chain. And in the electronic sector, we are strong in assembly, process, and test. But of course, what we want is to really improve our competitiveness by moving up the global value chain, upgrading our position by focusing our efforts towards attracting more parts and components to be manufactured in the country and build a strong electronic supply chain. So it's really more towards backward integration. In aerospace, for instance, we are also focusing towards more innovation, more R&D in the country. Well, as an example, Rockwell Collins is a manufacturer of aircraft cabin interior products, including cabin seating, lighting, oxygen systems, food and beverage preparation and storage equipment, galleys, and laboratories. And these are actually being not only made by Filipinos, but designed by Filipinos. And we want more Rockwell Collins to be established in the country. In automotive, we want to position the Philippines in EV manufacturing, including strategic parts like the battery. And the Philippines has nickel resources as well as cobalt resources. We are actually number 5 in the world for cobalt. And in agriculture, we want to be able to move up the high value added products and crops. We are also focusing our efforts towards linking together electronics, automotive, and aerospace parts manufacturing with IT services. We are, as mentioned earlier, preparing an Industry 4.0 roadmap using new technologies like AI, Industrial Internet of Things, 3D printing, robotics, mixed reality as enablers in building our innovation ecosystem and creating new products and services, as well as improving our competitiveness by investing in smart factories. And we've already seen Ionics leading many EMS companies in the country. We are crafting programs to help our industries transition towards Industry 4.0 technologies and prepare our companies for digital transformation. And innovation is going to drive our future growth. And all these are expected to lead to a more inclusive and sustainable industrial development. So of course, GSP is important as it has been paving the way for the entry of our products in developed country markets like the US and the EU. But of course, a free trade agreement would provide a more permanent market access and other benefits. And the signing of the RCEP is a welcome development, especially in the light of heightening global protectionism and recession. We believe that RCEP, with its population of 2.2 billion people, really, it's a very huge market, and it represents already 28% of world trade, 30% of world GDP, 24% of inward FDI, and 34% of outward FDI. Hence, given all our plans, our preparations for the future, including embedding Industry 4.0 technologies in our industries, we believe that RCEP would really lead towards more benefits for Philippine industries, not only in terms of getting the market access and trade, but as well as in promoting investment. And what's good about the RCEP is that it's high quality, what we call high quality FTA. It is providing a more stable, a more predictable, and a fair environment for businesses and investments to thrive. And RCEP is a modern, it's a comprehensive and high quality FTA covering e-commerce. These are new areas which are not included in the current in the previous ASEAN Plus One FTAs. So now we have e-commerce, we have competition, intellectual property, and government procurement, including small and medium enterprises.
Okay. Thank you, Yusek Vita,
Thank you.
for the
Back to you,
explanations. Yes, thank you, thank you.
Bernard.
Yes. And I think a follow-up question to this, to I think both Yusek Vita and Earl can reply to that. One of the attendees was asking, has the US and China trade war impacted the Philippines? For myself, I represent Everwin International. For the attendees, we have moved from China to the Philippines. So I'd like to get more insight from the speakers. So what has the impact of the US-China trade war? So if it continues, do we see a continuous inflow? So either one can respond.
Well, Bernard, you
Earl can go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
So an example is this all in this room, right? Where
Yes.
in full disclosure, Bernard is our customer, and so Bernard has moved his operations from China to the Philippines, and Ionics is a benefactor of that move. And apart from the benefit to Ionics, Bernard has also set up a factory that does his box build in the Philippines as well. And so yes, there is a direct benefit that came from this. Having said that, we have to make sure that we are equal to it by supporting the supply chain and the local component supplier base.
Okay, good, good. Thank you.
Bernard,
Thank you. Yes.
well,
Yusek Vita.
actually, this is if we have more time, but let me just quickly show the numbers.
Yes.
I would like to show you this this number. These are the statistics. I mean, this won't lie.
Yes.
Well,
Sorry.
of course, I've earlier shown this in my presentation, although given that I didn't have much time, I was not able to discuss them thoroughly. Look at this. These are the orange line would be the manufacturer of electrical equipment, and then the blue line would be for computer, electronic, and optical products. So up to 2019, you can see that a double-digit growth has actually been posted at 13.8, and previous to that, there's 8.1, 14.4, 1.7, so a drop here, but an 11.3. But generally, what we can see is an upward trend, meaning even with the US-China trade war, this sector was still benefiting the manufacture of electrical equipment. And I think you would fall under this, Bernard, and
Yes.
Ionics would also be part of this. I mean, these are our exports, right? But at the same time, of course, there are other components which are really declining. Like for instance, computer, electronic, and optical products. We see 14.4, 8.1, and then minus 4.3, a contraction, and which continued up to the third quarter of this year, 2020. But you also need to take into account the occurrence of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has really caused a global recession. And given that this industry is really highly export-oriented, of course, it was negatively hit. But even our growth sector, such as the electrical equipment exports, they also contracted by minus 23.8. But once, like what I've said in my presentation, once COVID has been addressed, once we have the vaccine, and once growth has been restored globally, we would expect this to recover and to increase. Well, in fact, the contraction has been slower as we look, this is the monthly total electronics export data. These are the growth, monthly growth from January up to September. And you can see the big drop when COVID hit us in March, and then in April and May. But you can see after June, you can already see the rising trend in June, July, and then we're already here. We're already in the positive territory for our electronics export growth, which is a good thing, a good sign actually. And I guess we've been affected because, as you can see in here, China comprises 11.5% of our total exports. Hong Kong is 20.9. So if you combine these two, that would really comprise the bulk of our exports. And given that there's a trade war going on, of course, that would explain the total decline. We don't see here the information for other years, but that has been the impact. But if we go down to the more specific products, which I have also showed, we would see that there are gainers, but there are also losers. And
Yes.
what we want really is to be able to strengthen our supply chain, and for the and to position the Philippines in such a way that we'll be able to attract those manufacturers that are shifting to other locations like the Philippines. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yusek Fita. Now, yeah, let's go to Mr. Earl. So, with the Ionics digital twin, can you share some experiences on how your digital twin technology help your customers seamlessly adjust to the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. Like many other countries, the Philippines was affected by lockdowns and social distancing rules, limiting physical access to the factory floors and even the offices. Having the digital twin collecting data directly from machines allowed us to access information remotely. So we can continue to manage the factory from anywhere as a team, allowing us to limit only necessary people into the shop floor and offices to continue running smoothly and more importantly, safely. It proved to be a great collaboration and decision-making tool that became indispensable for business continuity during the time of COVID. As for customers, we've experimented by giving some customers direct access to information in the smart factory where they can monitor and even generate ad hoc reports in real time. This was a huge benefit to our customers since they didn't have to wait for the other side of the world to wake up before knowing what was going on. So they could simply log on and know exactly what was going on with their products. Yeah.
Thank you, Earl, for the information.
Yeah.
Also, a follow-up question to that as well. So, besides the manufacturing and technical capabilities aspect of Ionics, can you share your insights on with regards to the logistics and supply chain within the Asia Pacific region, as well as the local supply chain? What are our strengths and areas that we may need some further improvement?
So the Philippines, from a Philippine perspective, we benefit from the proximity of our neighborhood. So being part of Southeast Asia, where trade is a like local experience between the ASEAN members. We also benefit from being in close proximity to Taiwan and in China, as China still continues to be a big source for components. So we hope that we can grow local EMS industry, and we also hope to draw larger EMS players into the country. So the manufacturing industry is a cluster-based industry where size really helps generate much more opportunities. So if you have really large players like the likes of Foxconn, we saw the benefit that came when New Kimpo Group set up shop in the Philippines, where it benefited the whole industry in general. And so we are a big believer that a rising tide raises all boats. And so one of the key ways to improve the supply chain is really to have more players and bigger players set up shop in the Philippines.
Okay, okay, thank you, Earl. Now we might be running out of time, so I have one more, hopefully one more final question for both Yusek Fita and Mr. Earl. How can the manufacturing as a service or an EMS like Ionics help accelerate companies go to market without compromising quality and control?
Yeah. So we provide a critical piece of the business of business model of our customers. So manufacturing is very capital intensive, and so working with us helps um, build confidence in the customers so that they can be able to provide um, supplies to their customers. And we have very strong capability in terms of manufacturing and quality inspection. And so, we focus on allowing our customers to sleep at night, where they have high confidence in making sure that their product is available when they need it at best cost.
Okay. Any comments, Yusek Fita?
Yeah, from the government perspective, of course, we look at
Uh-huh.
manufacturing as a service as another important priority. We are targeting activities like what Ionics is doing. This is one way by which we could upgrade our position in the electronics global value chain. And hence, to strengthen the electronics industry in the country, we are also focusing our efforts towards strengthening our IT sector, our human resources, which we know are the main comparative advantage of the country. We are also investing more in developing human capital by providing more digital skills trainings and gearing our educational system towards STEM courses. And let me also mention the other things that we are currently initiating. Of course, apart from the human resource development training, we are also establishing our innovation ecosystem, pursuing measures to improve our protection and enforcement of intellectual property rights in order to promote more innovation, design, creativity, the creation of incubation centers for startups and SMEs, efficient logistics and infrastructure, and the development of parts, supplies, and material sector in order to support the supply chain and the entire industry. Of course, another important aspect of the plan is more investments towards advanced infrastructure, particularly in high-speed communication system and logistics that would help us strengthen our domestic environment. And if I could also mention other things such as standards, testing, quality assurance institutions, high-tech and R&D infrastructure, investments in scientific and technological research, incentives that we are providing for the establishment of science and technology parks to facilitate interfirm and academic industry collaboration in high-tech activities, as well as local incentives for local R&D and training.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Yusek Fita, for all of those information. Yeah, it is very, very important for us to understand what the Philippine, beside the private sector and the public sector, what both agencies are doing with regards to improving the technical skills of and qualifications of the Philippine and the Philippine industry as well. So unfortunately, we are running out of time. So I would like to thank you for today's lively discussion. We apologize that will not be able to answer or raise all of the questions during the Q&A. However, we will be sharing with the attendees the PowerPoint presentations as well as answers to all of your Q&A to your via the email you used to register. May I invite all the organizers of this webinar to join us, Mr. Val Carandang, Mario Rivero, and Mr. Graham Payne. Okay, you can also download these contact details if you can get in touch with them directly with Mr. Earl with the BOI and the DTI representatives here in the United States. To name them again, Mr. from Ionics, Mr. Earl Kwa and Joji Velbis. From the BOI, Ms. Lani Dormiendo and Ryan Ramos. From the DTI's Special Representative, Mr. Raymond Batak from Washington, D.C., Mr. Nick Bautista from New York, Ms. Celine Layub from Silicon Valley, and Mr. Eric Elnar from LA. Again, thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar. And please look at the screen. This will be our next webinar, which will be conducted this coming December 17th. So if you are interested to join, please register and you will get an invite for the next upcoming EMS webinar series. Thank you very much and have a good day to everyone, and be safe, keep safe, and stay well.